Have you ever felt like you were walking a different path while the world rushes forward? You remain still, watching from the sidelines in a society obsessed with popularity. What does it truly mean when someone chooses to walk alone? Many believe that having few friends is a sign of loneliness, failure, or an antisocial nature. Society conditions us to think that the more connections we have, the more successful we must be. Social media reinforces this idea with follower counts and friend lists, turning relationships into numbers. But is that truly the case? Stoicism does not measure a person's worth by the number of friends they have. Instead, the absence of shallow relationships can reveal something profound about one's character. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Choose your company wisely, because a person becomes like the people they surround themselves with." If this is true, then should we not be more selective with our friendships rather than accumulating them like trophies? What if having fewer friends is not a weakness but a strength? What if it reflects something powerful about your character? Meet Ethan, a man who once believed friendships would last forever. A man who, like many of us, tried to fit in, to belong. But over time, he began to see things differently. He is not unfriendly, nor incapable of forming relationships. Instead, he chooses carefully. He values depth over breadth, quality over quantity. His journey will help us uncover the hidden truths behind solitude. As we explore Ethan's story, we will see that having few friends is not a deficiency but a choice. It is a reflection of discernment, self-acceptance, and an unwavering commitment to meaningful connection. By the end of this journey, you may find yourself rethinking your own relationships and questioning whether the people around you truly add value to your life. The preciousness of true friendship. Ethan was once like everyone else. As a child, friendships formed effortlessly. He had classmates to play with, neighbors to explore with, and teammates who shared victories and defeats. It was as if friendships were scattered along the shoreline, easy to pick up like seashells. But as he grew older, something changed. He began to notice that friendships were not as permanent as they seemed. People drifted apart, priorities shifted, and what once felt natural now required effort. Some friendships faded without a reason, while others ended in disappointment. It was in these moments that Ethan started to question the nature of human connection. Were friendships meant to be temporary, or was he simply looking in the wrong places? The more he observed, the more he realized that not all friendships were built on true connection. Some existed out of convenience, others out of habit. There were friendships that thrived in easy times but disappeared when difficulties arose. Ethan had seen this firsthand. People he once trusted vanished when he needed them most. Conversations that once felt meaningful turned into small talk filled with empty words. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Associate with those who will make a better person of you. Welcome those whom you yourself can improve. The presence of true friends should elevate you, not drain you." Ethan reflected on this wisdom and saw the truth in it. Many of his past friendships had been surface level. He had once thought that having a wide circle of acquaintances meant he was well-liked and socially successful. But over time he realized that true friendship is not measured by numbers, it is measured by depth. Seneca offered similar insight, saying, "One who seeks friendship for a reason will lose it when the reason is gone." True friendship is not based on mutual benefits or shared entertainment. It is not about having someone to pass the time with, but about having someone to share life with. Ethan thought back to a time when he had confided in someone he considered a close friend. He had opened up about his struggles, expecting understanding. Instead, he received dismissive words, a half-hearted response that made it clear the other person was not truly listening. That was the moment he understood that many friendships were just illusions, reflections of connection rather than the real thing. This realization led Ethan to become more selective. He no longer sought to fill his life with casual acquaintances. He did not chase after invitations or force relationships to continue when they had run their course. Instead, he focused on cultivating friendships that were rare and meaningful. Friendship to him was like a diamond, rare, valuable, and surrounded by countless imitations. Just as a jeweler carefully examines a gemstone before declaring its worth, Ethan learned to examine the relationships in his life. He asked himself, do I truly connect with this person? Do we share the same values? Can I trust them to stand by me in difficult times? By choosing quality over quantity, Ethan freed himself from the pressure of maintaining superficial relationships. He no longer measured his social success by the number of friends he had, but by the depth of the bonds he nurtured. Think about your own life. Have you ever mistaken a passing connection for a true friendship? Have you ever felt disappointed when someone you trusted did not stand by you when you needed them the most? If so, then you understand Ethan's journey. The Stoics remind us that friendship, like virtue, requires cultivation and depth. It is not about surrounding yourself with as many people as possible. It is about allowing only the most genuine connections to take root in your life. Ethan's story is not one of loneliness, but of wisdom. He is not alone because he is incapable of making friends. He is alone because he values depth over breadth, meaning over numbers. In a world that often equates popularity with happiness, Ethan reminds us that true friendship is not about how many people you know. It is about finding the rare few who truly understand you. In this light, having few friends is not a sign of failure. It is a testament to discernment, patience, and an unwavering commitment to authenticity. Ethan's journey is not just about choosing his friendships carefully. It is about something even deeper. It is about understanding himself, embracing who he is, rather than chasing an image of who he should be. Because true solitude is not about isolation, but about self-acceptance. And that is where his real transformation begins. The role of self-acceptance. Ethan had spent much of his life trying to fit into a mold that was never meant for him. From a young age, he was told to speak up more, to be more social, to put himself out there. Teachers encouraged him to participate more in class. Family members nudged him towards social events. Friends told him that if he wanted to be happy, he needed to be more outgoing. For years, Ethan tried. He forced himself into conversations he did not enjoy. He attended gatherings that drained him rather than energized him. He played the role of someone more talkative, more expressive, more socially engaged. But deep down, it never felt right. He always left these interactions feeling exhausted and disconnected. At some point, he began to wonder, was something wrong with him, or was the world simply asking him to be someone he was not? This was when he discovered Stoicism, and its wisdom spoke to him in a way nothing else had before. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Accept the things to which fate binds you and love the people with whom fate brings you together, but do so with all your heart." For Ethan, this meant accepting that his nature was not a flaw. It was simply the way he was designed. He was not broken. He was not incomplete. He was simply different, and there was strength in that. Society tends to celebrate extroversion. The loudest voices get the most attention. The most outgoing individuals are seen as the most successful. But Stoicism teaches that true peace does not come from external validation. It comes from embracing one's nature rather than fighting against it. Ethan began to see that his quiet nature was not a weakness, but a gift. He noticed things that others overlook. He listened deeply rather than simply waiting for his turn to speak. He observed human nature with a clarity that many never achieved. One evening, Ethan attended a social gathering at the request of a friend. As the room buzzed with laughter and conversation, he felt the familiar sense of disconnect. He was surrounded by people, yet he felt more alone than ever. He found himself retreating to a quiet corner, watching the interactions unfold. As he stood there, a thought crossed his mind. He was not lonely because he was alone. He was lonely because he was not being true to himself. He had been chasing an idea of connection that did not align with who he was. Epictetus wrote, "First say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do." For Ethan, this meant making a decision. He would no longer force himself into spaces where he did not belong. He would not pretend to be someone he was not just to fit in. Instead, he would embrace his nature fully. He began to spend his time differently. Rather than engaging in small talk that felt meaningless, he sought out deeper conversations. He chose to spend time with people who valued thoughtfulness over noise, sincerity over performance. Over time, he found that this shift brought him peace. He no longer felt pressure to be anything other than himself. And in doing so, he started attracting people who truly appreciated him. His friendships, though fewer, became richer. His connections, though less frequent, became more meaningful. Think about your own life. Have you ever forced yourself into conversations that drained you? Have you ever put on a mask just to feel accepted, only to walk away feeling more alone than ever. What if the path to true connection starts with embracing who you truly are? Ethan's journey teaches us that self-acceptance is not just a personal choice, it is an act of courage. It is choosing to be at peace with who you are rather than chasing an illusion of who you think you should be. When we embrace our nature, we free ourselves from the exhausting cycle of seeking approval. And in that freedom, we find something rare and powerful. We find authenticity. As we move forward in Ethan's journey, we will explore another crucial aspect of his solitude: trust. How does someone like Ethan navigate trust in a world where relationships can be fleeting? How does Stoicism guide him in deciding who to let in and who to keep at a distance? Stay with us as we uncover the delicate art of trust. The delicate art of trust. Trust is one of the most fragile yet essential elements of human relationships. It takes years to build, but only a moment to break. Ethan understood this all too well. In his younger years, he was open and trusting. He believed that most people had good intentions and that forming close connections was simply a matter of spending time together. He let people into his life easily, assuming that friendships were built on mutual respect and understanding. But over time, he learned that not everyone deserved his trust. Some people came into his life when things were easy but disappeared when challenges arose. Others seemed supportive but later revealed themselves to be driven by their own interests. The friendships that once felt secure turned into disappointments, leaving Ethan questioning who he could truly rely on. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Be tolerant with others and strict with yourself." This wisdom shaped Ethan's perspective on trust. He realized that while he could not control the actions of others, he could control how he responded. Rather than becoming bitter or resentful, he chose to be more discerning. Trust, he came to understand, was like a carefully tended garden. If left unguarded, it would be overrun with weeds. If neglected, it would wither. To protect its beauty, he needed to be selective about who was allowed inside. This realization did not make Ethan cold or distant. In fact, it made him a better friend to those he did trust. By choosing his relationships carefully, he was able to invest in them fully. The few people he kept close knew that they could count on him, not just in good times, but in difficult moments as well. Epictetus taught, "Attach yourself to what is spiritually superior, regardless of what other people think or do. Hold to your true aspirations no matter what is going on around you." Ethan applied this lesson by surrounding himself only with those who shared his values. He no longer gave his trust freely, but when he did, it was built on a foundation of integrity and mutual respect. One day, a former acquaintance reached out to reconnect. This person had once been part of Ethan's life but had shown disloyalty when Ethan faced a difficult time. Now they wanted to rekindle the friendship as if nothing had happened. In the past, Ethan might have accepted without question. But now, he paused. He asked himself, what has changed? What evidence is there that this person will act differently than before? Seneca wrote, "He who does not prevent a crime when he can, encourages it." Ethan took this to heart. He understood that allowing someone back into his life without reason was an act of self-betrayal. So he made his decision. He wished this person well but chose not to reopen that door. It was not out of anger or resentment but out of wisdom. He had learned that trust, once broken, must be rebuilt, not simply given again out of habit. Think about your own life. Have you ever placed trust in someone who later proved unworthy of it? Have you ever held on to a connection simply because it was familiar, even when it no longer served you? The Stoics remind us that trust should not be handed out carelessly. It is not about shutting people out, but about ensuring that those who remain in our lives deserve the space they occupy. Ethan's story teaches us that having few friends is not a sign of isolation. It is a sign of strength. It is a commitment to building relationships on trust, not convenience. As we continue his journey, we will explore another key aspect of his solitude. How does Ethan navigate social opportunities? How does he decide which interactions are worth pursuing and which are simply distractions? Stay with us as we uncover the wisdom of choosing social engagements with intention. Navigating social opportunities. Ethan understood that human beings are social creatures. Even the Stoics, who emphasize self-sufficiency, recognize that no one is meant to live in complete isolation. However, there is a difference between being social and being strategic about social interactions. Unlike many who fill their schedules with endless gatherings, Ethan chose his engagements carefully. He did not chase every opportunity to socialize. He did not feel the need to be seen everywhere or to keep up appearances. Instead, he asked himself one simple question before committing to any social event. Will this bring value to my life? Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Do not waste what remains of your life in speculation about others. If you wish to avoid all unnecessary trouble, do not be curious about the lives of others unless there is a clear reason." Ethan saw this mistake often. Many people attended social events not because they truly wanted to, but because they feared missing out. They filled their calendars with activities that left them exhausted, chasing an illusion of belonging. But what they often found was surface-level interaction with little depth. Ethan took a different approach. Instead of spreading himself thin across numerous shallow connections, he sought out environments where meaningful conversations could take place. One Saturday, he decided to volunteer at a community garden. Unlike loud social gatherings, this activity allowed for quiet, steady work. While planting trees alongside others, conversations unfolded naturally. There was no need for forced small talk or exaggerated social performance. Epictetus taught, "Seek not the good in external things, seek it in yourself." This reminded Ethan that true connection comes from shared values, not from trying to impress or entertain others. At the garden, Ethan met a man named Daniel. They did not become instant best friends. There was no rush to exchange numbers or make plans. Instead, their connection grew over time through shared experiences. They worked side by side, discussed philosophy, and over the course of months, built a quiet but strong friendship. This was the type of connection Ethan valued. It was not built on fleeting excitement, but on something more stable. One day, a former colleague invited Ethan to a large networking event. It was described as an opportunity to meet important people and expand connections. Years ago, Ethan would have accepted without hesitation. But now, he considered his priorities. Will this truly add value, or will it only distract me from what matters? He politely declined, not because he was antisocial, but because he understood that not every invitation is worth accepting. Seneca wrote, "As long as you live, keep learning how to live." Ethan applied this wisdom to his social life. He learned to say no to gatherings that drained him and yes to situations where he could engage in real, meaningful connection. Think about your own life. How often do you say yes to social interactions out of obligation rather than genuine interest? How many of your connections are built on depth rather than habit? Ethan's story reminds us that a lack of constant socializing is not a sign of weakness or avoidance. It is a sign of intentionality. It is the recognition that our time and energy are limited, and that we must be wise in how we spend them. As we move forward in Ethan's journey, we will explore the reality of changing priorities. How do friendships evolve when life demands more of our time and focus? What happens when old connections fade, not because of conflict, but because of growth? Stay with us as we uncover the Stoic perspective on the natural shifts in human relationships. The impact of changing priorities on friendship. As Ethan moved through different stages of life, he began to notice a quiet but undeniable shift. The friendships he once held close started to change, not because of conflict or betrayal, but because life itself had taken them in different directions. When he was younger, friendships felt effortless. There was always time for long conversations, late-night discussions, and spontaneous plans. But as responsibilities grew, priorities shifted. Work required more focus. Personal goals demanded more dedication. Family obligations became more pressing. Slowly, the time once spent on casual friendships was now invested elsewhere. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Do not be ashamed of needing help, but if you do not need it, do not seek it to satisfy your own vanity." He understood that as life evolves, so do our relationships. Some connections remain, while others naturally fade. Ethan once believed that true friendships should last forever, but Stoicism taught him something different. It taught him that change is not a loss, but a natural part of life. Just as the seasons shift, so too do relationships. One day, Ethan received a message from an old friend, someone he had once spoken to daily but had not heard from in years. They exchanged a few words, reminiscing about the past, but the connection no longer felt the same. The bond had not been broken, but it had changed. And that was okay. Seneca wrote, "Every new beginning comes from some other beginning's end." This wisdom helped Ethan accept that not all friendships are meant to last in the same way. Some serve a purpose for a season, offering lessons and memories before naturally fading. Think about your own friendships. Have you ever felt guilty about losing touch with someone? Have you ever forced a connection to continue simply because it once meant something? Ethan learned to release this guilt. He realized that true friendship does not demand constant contact. It does not require validation through messages or meetings. What matters is the respect and understanding that remains even from a distance. By embracing this perspective, Ethan no longer felt pressured to hold on to every friendship. He appreciated the connections that lasted, but he also made peace with those that had faded. He understood that growth sometimes means letting go. As we move into the final chapter of Ethan's journey, we will uncover the ultimate lesson in solitude. What does it truly mean to walk alone, not as a sign of loneliness, but as a reflection of strength and authenticity? Stay with us as we bring his story to a powerful conclusion. Conclusion: the power of selective friendship. Ethan's journey has shown us that having few friends is not a sign of failure, but a testament to wisdom. It is a reflection of self-awareness, trust, and intentionality. He has learned that true friendship is rare and should be chosen with care. He has embraced his nature instead of forcing himself to fit into society's expectations. He has become selective with trust, understanding that not everyone deserves a place in his life. He has navigated social opportunities with purpose, choosing depth over distraction. And he has accepted that friendships evolve, knowing that change does not mean loss. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." This is the essence of Ethan's path. He does not seek to impress others with the size of his social circle. He does not measure his worth by popularity. Instead, he focuses on becoming the best version of himself, knowing that the right people will naturally be drawn to him. Think about your own relationships. Are your friendships a reflection of your true self? Or are they built on habit and expectation? Do the people in your life elevate you, or do they drain your energy? Epictetus said, "We should not mold ourselves to fit others, but become who we are meant to be." Ethan's story teaches us that solitude is not something to fear. It is something to embrace. It is a space for growth, clarity, and authenticity. If this journey has resonated with you, take a moment to reflect on your own life. Do your friendships truly align with who you are, or are they merely shadows of who you are expected to be? Choose quality over quantity. Choose depth over appearances. And most of all, choose to be true to yourself. Because at the end of the day, it is not about how many stand beside you, but about who remains when the noise fades away.